Hey everybody, and welcome to the finals of the 2021 Spring Fling. I'm Michael Hoyp. I'm joined today by Lester Smerling. Say hi, Lester.
Hello.
It's good to have you back. We had you, I know, in the booth for the inaugural Spring Fling. I think that was your debut of commentary, so it's nice to have you in the booth again. And
Yeah, I'm always down for this.
yeah. So today we have a matchup between John Grudzina, he's playing Mud, and then Chris Adcock on Suicide Black. I have the Mud deck up on screen, and it's pretty traditional as far of what I've seen in pre-modern. But what the deck is looking to do is it's a prison type archetype. It has a lot of lockdown pieces. Winter Orb and Rishadan Port, I think, would be kind of number one as a quick lockout, but then like Tangle Wire slows people down, and then Mishra's Helix is another one that I can just by itself lock an opponent out of mana a lot, and then slowing people down with cards like Tangle Wire and Sphere of Resistance, and then kind of a big mana engine in terms of Metalworker and Thran Dynamo.
You
Do you have
got the
any?
Smokestack package
Yep,
too.
yep. There's a couple of
Uh,
smokestacks, so if it has things under control, then it maybe can take over the game that way.
yep. Uh, it's a good deck. I think that he's got in this matchup he's got a lot of really dead cards that might come back to haunt him. Like the
Okay.
Winter Orb and Black Vise might not be so good against Dark Ritual decks.
Yeah, I've been
So
surprised. There have been times where we've seen the mud deck go up against even decks that have Winter Orb in their main deck, like a copy or two, and
yep,
still the Winter Orb and Rishadan Port has been really powerful still for John. So
absolutely.
I've been impressed by the Winter Orb Rishadan Port out of this mud deck just because there are so many ways. Like if you just have a Mind Stone or a Thran Dynamo or a Metalworker, a way to make a mana, then you're just keeping them locked out, and it's really good.
Yep.
So I agree. There could be situations where it's if you're behind on board, the Winter Orb is not impressive, but I have been impressed the matches I've seen for the Spring Fling of how much work Winter Orb has done when I think it hasn't been that good. I'll,
Fair.
I'll bring up the Suicide Black deck. This list is a little bit different than what we've seen of maybe the traditional Suicide Black and pre-modern. The biggest takeaway is that there's an absence of one drops. There's still the Dark Ritual, and you could still power out like Negator and Hypnotic Specter, but the Sarcomancies and the um, Carnophasias,
Carnifage.
yep,
Yep.
are gone, and instead we see shadow creatures, which sometimes are in, sometimes they're out. Mesmeric fiends, which you don't always see the four full copies, and then Sinister Strength, which is a creature enchantment that can boost the power. Which is if the deck doesn't have a lot of removal, or if you take away their few removal pieces with Duress or Mesmeric Fiend, then a Sinister Strength on a shadow creature can be really effective. Is
Yeah,
there
he's
any?
got a
Go
couple
ahead.
oddballs like the Skeletal Scryings in there too, which can just bring him back into the game.
Hmm.
Yeah, just this is a cool list. Just the lack of the one drops is kind of odd to me, but he's got a lot of basically like utility creatures, which makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, the when I first looked at it, I thought the same thing. I'm like, no one drops. That doesn't seem the way to go. But the way the games have played out, the shadow creature has been really effective, and so
Right.
the mesmeric fiends have also been very timely. And so removing those removal pieces might clear the way for a sinister strength. And so I think as a whole, I've liked how this list has worked together. So before we get started, we have a subscription from Rock and Roll Nerd. So thank you for the subscription. Ooh boy, finals hype is what it said. So yeah, we're really excited to figure out who's gonna win the spring fling, and so I'm hoping for a good match. Okay, I think we are ready. Lester, if you want to let our players know that they can get started.
All right.
So we are playing a best of five today. The player play draw is based on the seed, and Chris is the higher seed, so he has chosen to go first. And so the first uh, two games will be without sideboard. Right, so we are looking to kick things off. The Suicide Black player is looking for a Dark Ritual opening. Um, I guess Phyrexian Negator is probably the card I would want more than Hypnotic Specter, I guess.
I really think Dark Ritual into just Duress is going to be huge in this matchup.
Okay, yeah, it was just a swamp and a go. So,
Oh,
and then we have a
everyone's Sphere.
turn one. Yep, turn one sphere. So
I
I
really
guess.
think Black is going to win the first two. I think it's going to be harder after sideboard, but
Okay.
I had Black win the first two.
Okay. Well, I guess given the start, if Chris didn't do anything on turn one, then it seems unlikely that he's going to be doing anything on turn two with this zero resistance in play. So
Right. Maybe he drew Duress.
I guess yeah, maybe that's what he drew. If yeah, he adds a Mishra's Factory and he's
Yep.
eyeing something up. So he Dark Ritualed, okay, and then he's going to play a Mesmeric Fiend. So Dark Ritual costs 2, gives him 3 mana, and then the Mesmeric Fiend costs 2. And we see a hand of City of Traitors, Wasteland, Smokestack, Metalworker, and another Sphere. What are you looking to take out of that hand?
I think you want to take the Metalworker, but I think you almost have to take the second sphere, right?
I Yeah, I mean, it might depend on your
Yeah.
hand, but given
Yep.
the way that Chris has played out the Dark Ritual, I'm thinking that he might be kind of forced to take the Sphere Resistance. Otherwise, he probably isn't going to be casting very many spells this game.
Yeah, he's probably locked up. I mean, the Mishra's Workshop can get in, but I don't know how effective that's going to be.
I mean, that's only a short term plan too, because there's
Yep.
a Wasteland.
The
So
sphere. That's one thing is with no removal spells in this black deck. It's
yeah. So I mean, it's kind of hard. Like, what do you think is the first black removal spell you would put in your deck? Is it Vendetta? Is it Smother? Is it Diabolic Edict? There's no one card that like kind of catches all the answers. So
I'm
it's
pretty old school, so it's Paralyze in the black decks.
okay.
I always like Paralyze.
So we see the Wasteland is going to take out the factory. He looks like John is going to be pinching. I guess he doesn't have any other play given that the sphere is in play, but
Yep.
looking to pin Chris on mana. So the Mesmeric Fiend will come in for 1.
I take it you've never played Paralyze in Mono Black.
I have not. I mean, it's a card I've looked at, but more of like an old school sense, and it's like, um, I guess I don't like it as an aggressive measure because once they pay the 4 mana, then it just hasn't done anything.
But they're dead by then.
I mean,
You just kill them.
sure, if that's in an ideal world, but I don't know. Chat's talking about Snuff Out. I do like Snuff Out. It's a good like tempo play, but does Snuff Out get artifacts? Yeah, yeah, it still does. It just doesn't get black.
So you just generated 6 mana.
Yes. The Metalworker is revealing the smokestack that we had seen, a Masticore, and then a Mishra's Helix. So
Yeah, Masticore is just insane here.
yeah, and then I mean, okay, so he's able to shoot the Mesmeric Fiend and get back the other sphere.
He should need more mana, right?
If he had 6, so you're saying it should have been 7 for the to pay for the Masticore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So well, he's got 10 there, so he's probably got it covered. I think he's
well,
still one mana
he
short.
activated the. If it would have been 7 plus 2 plus 3, that would have been 12 because he activated the. Yeah, I think they might have. But... Yes, Slade, this is the first game. All right, so Masticore discards a smokestack. He doesn't really need that with the 2 spheres in play in the Masticore. He'll attack for 4. And then this Metalworker is going to show a Helix and is that a Powder Keg, I believe? And play
Yeah.
a 7 mana.
I don't think you even need the Helix right. I don't think there's
Sure.
anything the black deck can do to come back.
John is it?
Once Masticore hits the table with mana, the duress.
Yeah, a 3 mana duress. A coercion, if you will.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's just kind of.
That is how you can beat the Masticore, though.
That's true. I guess getting is the last card, but yeah, as long as John has like a land or something in play, but or in his hand.
Yep. And now the lock is complete.
And Metalworker's attacking, so that's always a good sign. And so yeah, that's enough for Chris to pack it up. So all right, we'll look over the decks again. We aren't going to be doing sideboarding for the second game, but while the players are shuffling up. So I mean that. I guess the biggest difference in that game was there wasn't like a dark ritual play. I think Chris might want to more aggressively mulligan for something like that because if he's able to get out a negator or shadow creature duress or something, then he's gonna have a lot. He's gonna be able to disrupt one piece out of John's hand or have a quick enough clock where I think he's making John react as compared to like being the proactive player with like the Tangle Wires or the Spheres. So
Yep.
I think that's what I would be looking
Duress
for if I were in Chris's position.
Duress Mesmeric Fiend could be backbreaking because with these mud decks, sometimes you just keep one piece of acceleration.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just strip that away, like they might not be able to do anything for a couple of turns.
Yeah, I agree. That yeah, just the little bit of disruption can go a really long way. Can buy you a lot of
Yep.
time, and that's really all that the black deck, in theory, should need.
Right.
But I mean, there's a lot of cards that like once a shadow creature's in play, then the game's like a lot different from John's perspective. Is because he's under a clock, and I mean, I guess he has like Tangle Wire and Powder Keg's kind of slow, but like you can be tapping the mana down all the time, but a two power creature is going to be getting in there, and usually I think John's thing is he would say, okay, I'm going to have a Mishra's Factory to kind of take care of that creature. But with the shadow, it's going to prevent John from doing that, and Chris will be able to chip in every turn.
Yep.
Okay, it looks like the players are nearly ready to start again. I guess we'll just let them know they can start.
Turn one Hippie can do some damage here too. Kind of excited to see that happen. I think John's still shuffling.
Okay, yeah, I'm just letting them know that in the future they can just start. We don't have to let them know for each of the sideboarded games.
So mono black mulliganed
We do
the
see a duress
ritual
or a ritual, yeah. So
and Hippie.
okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any. I think Powder Keg is the only interaction piece, and that is awfully slow against the Hypnotic Specter in this position.
Right.
Yeah, so it's kind of tricky for John because a lot of times the mud deck is about sequencing. Like your plays line up, you say, okay, like I'm gonna do this on turn one and turn two, that's this on turn two, and Hypnotic Specter taking a random card out of your hand really could throw off that game plan because your whole game plan could be based on resolving one card in one or two turns, and just it getting snatched out of your hand really could throw things off.
So you got Port
Yeah.
Black Vise.
Yep. Yep. So probably not the most effective in this situation, I guess. But all the only other thing that Black Vice does in your hand would be add mana to Metalworker. Also, I guess it just could be a buffer for Hypnotic Specter that maybe is to do. We see Sinister Strength has been
Yep.
modded up, so
I think though with Hippie in play, I think you want to hold the Black Vise so you got another random card to discard.
sure that seems reasonable actually.
Because realistically, Black Vise, by the time it starts doing damage, you should already have the game won with a Masticore or something, probably.
Yeah,
It's a little bit tricky.
but yeah, this situation,
Yeah, it's a rough one.
yeah, I don't. I guess if John is able to power
Tangle
out like
Wire.
a Masticore, I guess is probably the like if but yeah, I don't know how he's gonna get there so
I
quick.
would think it's going to involve Tangle Wire into Masticore, maybe. But that's rough,
Okay,
too.
Tangle Wire is reasonable,
Yep,
and maybe that was part of his reasoning why he put out the Black Vice, and that's what we do
that
say.
might be.
Right. I think that would probably be saying that he's gonna say, my plan is to have Tangle Wire, and I need Black Vise in play so that I have access to another mana. But given that Chris actually has a third land is actually pretty relevant because now on the next turn he's able to just tap down his mana and then have the Hypnotic Specter able to
Yep.
attack.
City of Traitors powering out to Tangle Wire is always a little bit frowny too, because you might have to lose at City of Traitors if you play another land.
Yeah, I don't mind. I guess in general, I don't mind like losing the City Traders a lot of times in these types of decks because a lot of times you get two activations out of it, and that's
Yeah.
most times more than enough. But yeah, obviously it is. It's good to keep your permanents around with Tangle Wire.
Especially the deck only has 20 lands total, so
Yeah.
there's times when you're a little bit land light.
All right, we see a Powder Keg. So, I mean, that would take 4 turns, right?
Yeah, he could just Powder Keg for 2, I guess, just to get rid of Sinister Strength. That
Huh.
would.
It doesn't get enchantments, right?
It doesn't?
The I think the newer version with Ratchet Bomb does, but Powder Keg I don't think it does. I think a lot of people make that mistake, and so it destroys artifact and creature. So no, it would not get the
Oh,
enchantment.
never mind then.
Okay, so we see Chris taps his lands, and then he's able to attack with the 5 power Hypnotic Specter, and then he does have another land as well.
So you hit another Tangle Wire.
Okay, I think John might have been relying. So that would make sense, I guess, if with the Powder Keg play, if he's hoping to get the other Tangle Wire, maybe keeping the Hypnotic Specter down for a few more turns, and then he might be able to get his Powder Keg up. But things look a little bit tricky still for John, but he's gonna keep on. Yeah,
This black deck almost never, I almost never see 2 creatures in play. It's always just like one guy, Sinister Strength, and we're going to work with it.
I mean, I think Sinister Strength helps with that a lot. That you like
Yeah,
don't need to.
it's huge.
And I know one of the other games, one of those creatures was Skittering Skirge, so that makes a little bit more sense that a bunch of
Let
other
me play
creatures
with it.
weren't coming to play. But
Yep.
yeah, the I've been surprised it doesn't feel as like flood the board as maybe the
Right.
stereotypical Suicide Black deck.
That's where the bad moons. I start wondering how effective that is. Like it's just a +1/+1 sometimes.
Yeah, though I don't know if a lot of the games like if Chris like there aren't that many like sweeper type cards in the format that are played. So like but it is a way to like commit more to the board to or like commit more to a clock
Yep.
without like being more vulnerable to those cards. All right, Hypnotic Spectre is going to put John to 5. He's going to get one of the 3 remaining cards in his hand. He gets a Black Vise. Okay, I don't think John minds losing that one. So what card would be in John's hand? Because the Powder Keg is just going to be at 2, right?
Yep. So
He has access 1, 2, 3, 4 mana.
Masticore doesn't do anything here.
Not with yeah. If he had 2 additional mana, if he had 4 additional mana, he could.
Yeah.
But I can't think of a card. A Tangle, another
Even
Tangle
though
Wire.
Tangle Wire
Oh
doesn't
no,
do
because there's
anything.
4 lands.
Yeah. Well, I
Is
mean, that Tangle Wire does have 1 counter on it, so it would buy him 1 turn.
yes. Okay. Yep. John's not able to find the answer, and then
Yep.
so the black deck equalizes. So I think that game was a lot more of what Chris was looking to do, and I think a big part of that was the Dark Ritual.
Yeah, that was huge.
All right, now we get to look at sideboards. So you were saying just from your initial impression that you think the mud deck gets a little bit better after sideboard.
I think my deck gets better in this matchup. I think that I would personally pull out the Winter Orbs. I don't think Winter Orbs are very good here. I know that's part of his strategy, but we can kind of see that sometimes the black deck doesn't really care about that. So, and I think Black Vice might be bad too. And Bottle Gnomes isn't great, but it might give you an extra turn or two. So I think he brings in the 2 bridge, the Crumbling Sanctuaries, and the 3 Bottle Gnomes, and just
Okay.
takes out the Winter Orbs and Black Vices. No, I'm probably gonna be wrong there.
I mean, I definitely
Um,
like the bridges and the crumbling sanctuaries. Like once those are in play, those are just staying there, right? I don't think the black deck has
right.
any way to get rid of them.
There's no way to get rid of them.
And
The
yeah,
bottom limits can just block a Mesmeric Fiend forever. Like if the Mesmeric Fiend is locking something down, or it can just give you a cushion of a turn. I don't think it's. Oh, I forgot about the Masticore somehow. Masticore is definitely coming in too.
yeah. So I I'm hesitant. I mean, I agree that the Winter Orbs might come out, though it just seems like it's fine against Chris's deck. I would be fine taking out the Black Vices in this situation because you just know your Ensnaring Bridges and Crumbling Sanctuaries are so good that you feel like, and
Yep.
you know your Metalworker is not going to be dying. I'm pretty sure there's not removal that's
Right.
coming in. So it's like once you get a Metalworker and you have a bunch of mana, then you can just play every card in your hand. You're gonna not worry about staying under like a Ensnaring Bridge, and you can just take over the game with. It doesn't really matter. Like if you get like Mishra's Helix, could be Smokestack, could be a Karn. Eventually, you're gonna draw something, but I think John's looking to go like full lockout in the sideboard games. But
It could be. It could be.
all right, I
Um,
want to look at the black deck and see if there are things that change. So
you got
Cobalt
Cabal Therapy,
Therapy is a card that seems that could be good.
and I think that's it. I
Uh,
don't think the Withered Wretch does anything here.
do you make any arguments for like Smother that could get like Metalworker or a Mishra's Factory? Is that an angle that you're interested in interacting, or are you just saying you just have it? I'm going to try and be more consistent.
Personally, I don't think that you're worried about that very much at all.
Okay.
Obviously, Metalworker can be backbreaking, but Smother's pretty dead. So I really think you just pull out the bad moons for the Cabal Therapies personally.
You don't like
Maybe the Skeletal Scryings.
you don't like the Parish for the Dystopia in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, now we know how Powder Keg works, it might be a lot better, Like,
Maybe someone can turn his creatures into green or white
right?
permanents. So
I mean, what creature type is Metalworker? Because the last time I watched this match, he brought in Dingy Plagues
oh,
and
I
Chunky
said
Zombies.
I was joking with Dystopia. Well, and also Metalworker's a 1/2, so Engineered Plague is not gonna take out the
Two of them.
Metalworker. Oh,
Two
two
of
of them.
them.
I guess he did have two on the zombies and just
Yeah.
crush through the zombie infestation.
I
But
never would have guessed he was going to side those in against zombies, so, like,
yeah,
fair enough.
that was it was interesting how that played out. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
cool to see. So yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think I think the Cobalt Therapies come in. The cards that come out, I know Chris has not been like super impressed with the Skeletal Scryings, so I'm guessing maybe those are the cards. Though
Yep.
in this matchup, if you're under like a Mishra's Helix, like that's one of the cards. Those are like the only card you can cast. So I'm not exactly sure. Like I guess that's the saving grace of keeping the Skeletal Scryings in.
Yep. This game, Cyborg 2, Cabal Therapy can make it a little bit different with Masticore, obviously. Because you could actually lose your Masticore accidentally
Hmm.
to somebody just, like, ripping a therapy.
It's
So,
also kind of an interesting tension with the Metalworker, since the Metalworker reveals cards in your
right.
hand. It might give you a little information for the
Yep.
Cabal Therapy on the first time you're casting it.
Yep.
Yeah, mono black versus mono brown. That's what is the playmat art for Chris? Is that just a swamp, or is that a
I think
particular
that's,
card?
I want to say it's something from Champions
I don't
for
think it's.
some reason.
I don't think it's that. I don't think it's from Champions. It could be more modern than maybe than I'm thinking, but I don't know if it's like a card art. But it definitely just looks like a swamp. So maybe the chat can let us know.
Well, it looks like John Avon's signature, right? I think in the bottom corner there.
I mean I'm not a signature person, so I don't. It does kind of remind me of like the unhinged one. Maybe it's like the unstable or the unstable full art swamp. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, it's definitely John Avon's signature, so
But
that
well,
makes
it's got to be somewhat recent if because it has like the newer planeswalker symbol in the upper left hand corner, right? So it's
right.
a newer playmat. Well, I guess it doesn't necessarily mean it's a newer art. Okay, we see a Rishadan Port for the start for John.
Is that turn one ritual into
I think it's a Mesmeric Fiend. All right,
so take a
John
Powder Keg?
John Mulligan twice. Is that correct? There's only 5 cards there. Guess I didn't
Yeah,
notice that. Okay, it's taking the sphere
and
resistance.
then dress.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say.
So that was pretty effective.
Hmm. Well, I mean, at least John has a Mistress Factory. Oh, he drew a card.
Yep.
Wait, what's this 2 mana for? Oh, he's porting. Okay.
Important.
I was to
Yep.
say, he has the Rishadan Port to at least prevent us from attacking. But yeah, I guess preventing your opponent from developing more makes more sense.
He's got a slightly better Mishra's factor than the other one. So going with the mana denial here.
I think that makes sense. Like, if the game
Yeah.
goes on longer, in theory, you're the more powerful deck.
Because 1 damage a turn too, like.
Yeah.
This random discard really does hurt Mud though. Like, you really do want all of your cards. What's that? Is that the
A
Dynamo?
Thran Dynamo and then a Tangle Wire.
Okay,
All
fair
right,
enough.
so John's living off the top, but he's gonna have a few turns. He's gonna have at least 2 turns if Chris doesn't. Yeah, because
Yeah.
he didn't have a land this turn, and yeah, and he still will have the Prishan imported soon too.
Yep.
So things look. He's able to
He's
get
getting in
aggressive.
there.
Yep. I mean, I guess if you didn't draw anything relevant to do, I mean,
Right.
Chris isn't gonna be attacking next turn, so
I mean, the deck is a suicide black deck, so it's got to do some damage to itself eventually.
yeah. All right, we do see another land for Chris, but uh, even with the Tangle Wire be out 2, but like with the Rishadan import, yeah, um, there's some good mana denial from John. He's gonna prevent Chris from playing anything. Mishra's Helix. All right, so the big Rishadan import.
So lands are out of the game now, so he's got to win with this Fiend or Dark Ritual.
Yeah, I guess pretty much as long
Yep.
as John stays ahead on mana, which is gonna be pretty easy.
Yep.
John is at.
Now in this situation, I'm not sure what the black deck's hand looks like, but do you just play a random swamp, or do you hold that for a Dark Ritual play?
I think I think I would if you don't have Dark Ritual in your hand, I think I might just be playing out the swamps because it might tie up 1 mana of John's every turn.
Because you're just reverse porting him then?
Yeah, and until I have the Dark Ritual in hand, then maybe I would wait. But um, I don't know. It seems pretty grim either way for the black deck's perspective right now.
I found it.
Right. Well, Chris hasn't been able to do anything thanks to Mishra's Helix and Tangle Wire, and Chris has just been chipping in with the Mishra's Factory, or not Chris. John has just been chipping in with the Mishra's Factory, and so now we
I
see the
got
Powder
2.
Keg. So the Powder Keg will that there's a sphere under there, right? Is
Yep.
that might not even matter though. With 4 a turn, I think
Yeah.
I don't think he even needs to gets back the sphere in the situation. Kind of got the mana situation on lockdown.
How can we Bottle Gnomes be here for the beatdown? Huh?
How are you
Bottle Gnomes
how are
beatdown
you
right now?
how are you casting Bottle Gnomes? I guess Swamp Ritual Bottle Gnomes.
No, I'm talking about from the artifact deck. Just
Oh,
take 2 Bottle Gnomes
okay.
in for 1 every turn.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I can get behind Bottle Gnomes.
And
All right, so 4 more comes in from the factories. What else? All right, nothing else was added, right? Okay.
no, another swamp.
A dark ritual here. I mean, what would be the
I mean,
ideal? Like, what would you want? Like, negator's not even that good. I mean,
no,
I guess you could just sack your swamps. They don't do anything anyways.
that's true.
So Powder Keg's gonna blow up the Mesmeric Fiend.
Just to give him more of a lock, I think.
Yeah, Fear comes down.
Oh, he did leave in Winter Orb.
right? Well, I mean, that he might have taken out one or two. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I think a lot of times I've just been very impressed with Winter Orb out of the mud deck. So even in surprising matchups. So yeah, this game's definitely over. So
Yeah.
I guess it will take a little bit longer for John to finish Chris off, given he's attacking with Mishra's Factory and there's a Winter Orb in play. But did he attack her too? No, he didn't.
I don't, it's actually I'm kind of surprised he even played the Winter Orb there.
Yeah, I guess with Mishra's Helix in play, I don't think you really need to. I
Yeah.
think it just he
But
just
why is he untapping everything?
yeah. Okay, so we're backing up.
Yeah. Maybe he realized that it's
Yeah,
bad for him now too.
I don't think it's gonna make a difference, but
Yeah.
he's got plenty of mana with the. Well, no, it shouldn't make a difference because he just needs to have like the Mind Stone with. He's got two Thran Dynamos, so yeah, he can always.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, he'll just
He was,
Mishra's Helix during the upkeep, and with a sphere in play,
there's nothing now.
yeah, I don't think there's even I don't think it's even theoretically possible for Gris to get out of this situation.
Nope.
So we didn't even see any sideboard cards out of really either deck, right?
No.
So
Another sphere.
yeah, so if I had to guess, I think the game's really come down to Chris's first turn is kind of really just what's going to shape the game. And if he has a good enough first turn, then I think he has a reasonable shot. Otherwise, I think the mud deck is favored.
Well, that first turn was pretty insane against a mulligan to 5. He
Sure.
just had no follow up at all.
Actually, the
Like,
shadow creatures actually might be. We haven't seen any of those in any of the games, and
no.
uh, maybe that is also just another reasonable route to victory for Chris. Because like if you have a shadow creature in this game, it's a lot different. I mean, I guess it would have gotten blown up
I
by
don't
the
think it
powder
would have
keg.
because it would have still been locked up by Tangle Wires.
Sure.
There was never a turn where he didn't attack because of the factories. I think that the black was on the back foot the entire game.
Okay.
But I do agree with the shadow creatures being huge.
All right. Well, jump
You
over
think this
the.
makes him want to bring in the smother now? Just to kill Mishra's factory? I don't think it's very good. I wouldn't want to do it.
Uh, whenever I play like these aggressive decks, I'm never happy to bring in a card like Smother because I just feel like
Right.
it's you're only playing it in a situation that you're losing. I guess there are like killing a Metalworker might be a card like in a time you might cast it in a position one you're winning and that feels good, but most of the time it just feels like it's a losing battle. I don't know.
I really think it's only in there for Dreadnought, right? Because it kills Dreadnought.
Other matchups. I mean,
I mean,
there's got to be
take
some other
12
matchups.
12 against you.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, yeah, it would definitely come in against Dreadnought. I feel like there's
Right.
other matchups. I'm trying to think though. It'd be interesting to ask. Maybe we could ask Chris about like when he brought in Smother and if he was happy with that, and if maybe if it were like a Vendetta or a Snuff Out, if he would have brought it in more. But yeah, Snuff Out's kind of cute in this matchup. Like, 'cause your mana gets tapped a lot. But
Yep. Snuff Out's actually, with this deck, because most Suicide Black, you're taking a lot more damage from your creatures.
mhm.
With this one, the only thing that's really damaging you is your own arenas,
Yeah,
which could actually just be a cool win condition here is they cast the arena and you just lock them down for the rest of the game. Like,
yeah. I mean, Smother does hit Lackey when you're on the play, but if you're worried about Lackey, like you should be playing
yeah.
Vendetta or Snuff Out. Like,
Yep.
so I
Or
think
paralyze.
okay. I'll give it to you, I guess. The problem is like it's not at instant speed. Like if you're on the play and you just go land go, and then you have to like untap and paralyze the lackey. You've just
Yeah.
like
Dark
wasted.
Ritual, Shadow Guy, paralyze.
Okay, all right.
I got a clock. I'm telling you. Plus the artwork is sick.
The original one, or did it get a different art in fifth edition? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it got reprinted.
Oh, I know it got reprinted. I'm just trying to think if like.
Yeah, card that good needs to be in every set.
All right, we'll go over to the player screen, basically, so I can show you guys the art on Paralyze. Let's see the should be
Yeah, the new one's not good. Crumbling
you don't like
Sanctuary is
this.
bad,
You
but
don't like this Ron Spencer one. This one's kind of cool. I don't understand. Like, oh, is that guy like literally paralyzed in like mid swing of the mace? I've always liked the Ron Spencer art, so I like the kind of the cartoony look, the very defined edges. But
it's all right. The original one's great.
the
I'm pretty sure I had beta ones too, so that's probably why I played them so much.
I just read about Guardian Angel. So if you look at the beam on this paralyze, and if you look at art on here, it looks like because these are the same artists apparently. They
Yeah,
were not like the same piece of the artwork that were split up, though it does look like,
it matches up almost exactly.
yeah,
Like it's
yeah,
crazy.
which would be actually pretty cool if it was, but
Yep.
not the case apparently.
All right, so Mud looks like it's mulliganing.
I want to see some Metalworker action. I guess we did, and yeah, original art is usually my go-to. There are a couple situations where I do like uh new ones. So
Cabal for. Oh, he's hit
Sphere, I
Sphere.
think it's Sphere is what he wrote. Oh,
Yep.
I guess it's evident given that he's discounting a card. But yeah, I was just trying to look at what Chris was writing. He's helping us out. What he was naming. So he does hit the Sphere resistance. So that was good for Chris that he's able to take out the card. And like we talked about, how the mud deck is kind of sometimes reliant on one key piece, and that's a Crumbling Sanctuary, and then a Thran Dynamo. Though this Crumbling Sanctuary is gonna make dealing 20 into like dealing 50.
Yeah, it's. What's
And
that?
a Tangle Wire. So he
Wow.
played Thran Dynamo and then played Tangle Wire. So
Yeah.
he'll be able to play Crumbling Sanctuary through his own Tangle Wire next turn, because he'll be able to tap Tangle Wire, a land, and another land, and then he'll have +2/5. Yeah, he'll he'll be able to play Crumbling Sanctuary next turn.
Oh, no, you got dressed.
Okay, that's very key for Chris.
Yeah.
I think I think it would be a pretty monumental task for him to try and deal all that damage.
Yeah. Plus, with Mud, you can deal damage in huge chunks. So the Crumbling Sanctuary doesn't really count against them as much.
So why is the deck actually called Mud? Is there an origin behind that? I don't actually know. I've heard it so many times that like I is it like
I don't know.
I'm trying to even think of a plausible
It
reason.
used to be just mono brown, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, Mud is a really old moniker. It's not like it's something that's like recently been named. Like was I don't know when the era was, but I mean I've heard Mud decks for a really long time. So it's all brown like mud. All right, but then why is it all capitalized? Like it just seems like it's like an acronym.
Oh, here's the first Google search. Why is it called Mud?
I should have done my research. All right, I guess going back to this game, we've just had a Mishra's Helix get added, so that's going to keep Chris locked out pretty much. It's not an acronym, is what I'm told. Okay, because I know the Stacks deck, like they used to the vintage deck.
Stacks or shops? Yeah.
It was written like that, and it was for like at the time it was the $4,000 solution because it was with a dollar sign, an S for the S, a T, a four for the A, and KS. And so like at the time that's how much like the deck cost, which was like the most expensive vintage deck at the time, which now it's just laughable given the prices. But yeah, the $4,000 solution. So I mean, in this situation, going back to this game, as we'll talk about maybe the current situation, what is Chris able to do? Is I don't think he's really getting out of the situation with a Mishra's Helix.
Yeah, he's really looking for a dark ritual and into something again. But what he's gonna get into isn't even clear.
Metalworker utter domination. All right,
Yeah, just one a turn. Just start getting in.
all right. Well, there's
Oh,
a
there's a dark
dark
ritual.
ritual.
Skeletal Scrying for 2. Too much.
So is he still thinking he still has the 3 mana floating? Okay,
Yeah,
that's a negator.
there's Negator.
All right. So how does this change things for John? I mean, it holds off. I think is Mishra's factories, right?
I mean, I would send a Mistress Factory in. He's still got to sack two permanents. But I
Uh,
mean, I guess he's got the Helix lock in no matter what. But
yeah, the one thing is like Chris, I think kind of is thinking I'm not going to get access to my lands anyways, so I'm going to hope this 5/5 can go the distance. So I think John is looking to get a Masticore in play or get like multiple Mistress factories in play so that he can just prevent the negator from attacking.
I
Like,
mean, oh, he doesn't have Crumbling Sanctuary. He did lose that, right?
yeah, that got there is another one, but like, yeah, I guess like
What's the artifact underneath the life total?
it is that's a Tangle Wire,
Okay,
just very shiny. It looks like a white card.
it did.
Dystopia would get that one right.
It would.
All right, so yeah, I think John basically needs to draw. I would not attack with the factory in this situation. I would look to draw Masticore, Ensnaring Bridge, Crumbling Sanctuary probably would do it,
So he showed off the Winter
and
Orb to lock him down.
I think Chris needs to attack. I think he needs to say I'm all in on this negator.
Yeah.
It needs to go the distance. Yep. Okay.
Yep.
And I mean, I guess Chris was at 16 thanks to Ancient Tomb. So I guess this. I mean, this is a little bit scary for John. I would think. I guess I was kind of counting Chris out after the Mistress Helix came down, but the situation doesn't look. I mean, I think maybe from this board state, Chris might even be favored in this situation. I guess so. Cards that are relevant for John, another Mistress Factory. Uh, I guess
Karn. Karn would be huge. Mishra's Factory.
another Metalworker would be enough too because
Yep.
you just
Metalworker.
need 5 power to get rid of the
Yep.
negator. Um, so
Tangle Wire, of course.
anyway, okay, so there's a lot of live draws for John then.
Yep. There's a Mind Stone.
Yeah,
I mean, this. I think we already said Ensnaring Bridge.
yep.
Bottle Gnomes.
Bottle Gnomes would do it.
Bottle Gnomes would give you enough up front.
Right. You got a
So
winner
Winter Orb comes
or
down.
okay, yeah, that's fine. It just kind of frees up John's mana. And we have a
What's that?
tangle wire, I think.
Fair.
Okay. So I think we're back to the position where I think John's pretty favored. Like
I I again don't know about the Winter Orb. Like he could have done all this without Winter Orb, right? And it would have been the same thing.
it just makes it so he doesn't have to tap his mana like with the ancient tombs or the metalworkers. It frees him up so he can use his. I guess the metalworker doesn't. There's no cards in his hand, right?
No, but then that makes Masticore slightly worse now. I
Yeah,
guess Masticore just comes down and shoots, and it doesn't really matter.
sure. Yeah, you could just.
A sphere.
Yep. Like, yeah, you get a number of activations out of the Masticore, and I think
Yeah.
that would be enough. I guess you would
Yep.
want 5 to get rid of the Negator. I guess from this board position.
Well, you can play it and then shoot it, and then turn it,
Wait,
and
why
then
is that
upkeep
Negator
2.
untapped? Oh, it's an Ensnaring Bridge. It's not a Tangle Wire. Okay, okay, okay.
Oh, he drew in. Oh,
Okay,
that's
yeah, that's a
much
seventh
better.
edition. All right, I was thinking that was Tangle Wire. All right,
That's
that
much
then the
better.
Winter Orb, I guess, makes. I mean, I guess it doesn't really make more sense, but just makes
It makes
things.
fine sense then. Yeah.
Yeah, the this Negator is never
Never
going to be
attack.
attacking.
Yep. At this point, again, you're reaching for ways to win with the black deck now. I mean, no shadow creatures in all these games has been kind of odd.
Yeah,
But even if he had like curse scrolls or anything like that, he's not winning from this position.
true. Yeah, I don't. There's I don't know, like any build of the Suicide Black deck. I guess maybe like the Hatred deck, like the Hatred version, might have been able to like sneak out a win in some situation. But the
Yeah.
way the way this is played out, I guess you need more like hand disruption. Like it doesn't matter what suite of creatures I think you have. Like the way that this game is played for John, I think would have taken care of pretty much any black deck.
Yep.
All right, we got Smokestack. Love it. Slow, slow grind. Are you
This is
ever?
kind of what mud players live for. They just smokestack you out, you know?
It's such a good feeling though. Like, so are you?
Yeah.
How high up do you tick up this smokestack? We saw it get up to 3 in one of the other matches. Right, we have Dark Rituals try to
Oh,
be cast, but there's a sphere in play, so
I think you just do it one. Like
I that's like kind of the
just to
safe
make it
thing.
miserable for them. Yeah. It's just one a turn. Like
True.
if they're not willing to scoop, we'll just get all your permanents.
I don't scoop. I don't like. Yeah, I just kind
Yeah,
of say
no, you
like,
never do.
yeah, yeah. I just accept. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm probably
Yeah.
dead, and I'm just gonna try and play quickly and like just go through the motions.
Yeah, you just time me out on Magic Online with it. Just
That's not my intention. Okay, the game. I don't know if you're talking about the Blue Green Madness mud deck.
yeah.
I had a shot of winning that in every situation. Like so, I don't know if you ever watched
What
that
do you
video,
mean?
but it was
I
it was
did.
it was really interesting from my perspective. And like
Yeah.
I had a ton of decisions in a lot of the spots, and like me, there was one game where I had to like put a circular logic on the bottom and like in game one to keep a second rushing river, and I think it was correct, and it was. I think I still lost that game, but that match is really fun. I guess if you guys have a while, it is a long match. I think it's like an hour and a half of a best of 5, but it's Blue Green Madness against Mud, and it is very interesting. All right, back to here. We got Smokestack just at 1, blowing up some
So
lands, but
I guess you don't want to scoop, but I don't know what a path of victory can be here for the black deck. There's nothing that you can do.
you deck John. You just play enough
Oh,
swamps, draw all your swamps before.
that's a good call.
I guess John is obviously either going to have draw mana or permanence, so uh, and yep. Well, part of the reason I don't scoop in general, especially if it's like if we're going to a game 3, is to give the illusion that I do have an out. So like if you just scoop right away, then your opponent knows there's no card that will get him out of the situation. You gotta give a little fear there that there's some crazy card you're playing that might get you out of that situation. But yeah, I don't.
I played real life Magic against mono white and I was mono red, and she actually played Chomano and then played Worship,
Okay.
and I played that for another like 15 turns, recurred hammers and stuff.
You
Couldn't
didn't
possibly win.
you didn't have a curse scroll?
No, this was like I had Vishion on Sandstalkers in my deck, and like this was like the plow under days.
Okay.
Crisco was already out, I think.
Oh, Chomanos prevent all damage. I was thinking it was like a protection for a red creature.
No,
Right. So I guess
yeah,
yeah, that wouldn't have helped.
yeah, it was like a hard lock like turn 4 or something. I was like, oh, I like sat there recurring hammers and stuff. I was like, maybe I'll get her to scoop somehow, but no, no.
So I always have a rule. I don't like. I don't know if this is just like a local Wisconsin thing, but like, if you don't have permanents in play, you're not allowed to talk. Right? That's a rule,
Yes,
right?
yes, that's a roll. Yes,
So Chris can't say anything. Silence is in play.
yes.
So that's
Now the mud player has to try to figure out how to get rid of all the cards in hand for the flawless victory.
I don't think that's happening, but
I don't know if he's got. He should have a silver bullet to do this somehow.
all right. The life total is slowly ticking. But I guess the Chris's like thing is like, yeah, take that smokes. Oh, is the smokestack gone?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I was just say like, yeah, you have to sacrifice permanents. Well, I don't, but I don't know. I would be Chris in this situation too. Just like there's nothing in the deck that you could do in this situation, but
Right.
you just gotta.
You get more screen time.
Yeah, yeah. I love the limelight. So
Yeah.
a little metalworker beatdown.
When they first came out with the tokens, like the actual Magic card tokens, I don't know if you remember that. They came out in like
Unglued.
Onslaught. I think that's the first time they actually had them. Like, then they were actually a little bit valuable. I remember Bob telling me a story. He played like an extra 6 turns on camera to make a bigger decree to
Okay.
get more tokens to sell to the dealers.
What? Wait. They like the coverage like put him into play, and then he just like kept
He
him.
just scooped the ball off afterwards to the dealer. Like who's gonna stop him?
I mean, that's actually like technically getting value. I mean, it's a little bit shady, but yeah, then you actually have some EV in the game of sticking it around.
He just sat there and everybody was wondering like, what's he doing? Like he could just kill the guy, and he's like, nope, just got an extra 6 out of this.
All right, so Chris. He slaps the table because he can't actually say uncle because he didn't have your permanence, so he just taps out. So we'll jump over the players. We can listen into what they're saying. So.
Good match.
They might still have us muted. So
hello.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi. All right, I loved the ending to that match. I love Chris's spirit. It's exactly what I would do. It's like I'm pretty sure you were just cold in that situation, but you just like stuck it out, and I loved it.
Yeah, it was about like that was pretty much the least fun game I think I've ever played.
Okay.
But sometimes this game is not exactly fun. But anyways, I was psyched to get a hippie out with a Sinister Strength. That made my day.
Yeah, that did some good work, John. So I guess we weren't exactly sure who was advantage or how this was going to play out, but I guess after the few games that played out, we kind of said it kind of came down to Chris's first turn and if he's able to provide a formidable threat, usually with Dark Ritual. And if you don't have that, then I think I like Mud's chances in most of the games.
Yeah.
I see you didn't side in the Bottle Gnomes. Sad times.
They don't block.
Yeah.
They attack.
Yeah, they don't even block the shadow creatures, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so for the Black Vices came out first, and then one of the Winter Orbs came out. Okay, so that was the cards we were talking about. We weren't sure if which were better, the Black Vices. We were pretty sure the Black Vices were worse than the Winter Orbs. But Lester wanted the Bottle Gnomes then, and I don't think I was not interested in it. So.
Yeah. Thanks.
So, John, when you saw this deck on paper, do you think things were advantaged? Did you think it was a coin flip? What did you think of the matchup?
It was pretty heavily advantaged.
Okay. Yeah, your sideboard's pretty good given that you have like the Ensnaring Bridges and the Crumbling Sanctuary, and there's just no way for once those are in play, Chris can't do anything about those. So.
Yeah. Also, Masticore is pretty damn good in this matchup.
That's true.
Yep.
Didn't end up happening, but I figured. Also, Keg is pretty good. There's just a lot of good cards for me in my deck.
With this build, Tangle Wire is actually pretty decent too.
Oh yeah, Tangle Wire is always good.
Yep,
that's true. So I guess one of the talking points we had was John. Was of Winter Orb, and I guess not that we were surprised, but there were matchups where you'd played against decks that actually had Winter Orb in their main deck, like I think the Ugnaught deck, and it was still like was very good for you to have the situation of Winter Orb and a Mana Rock and Rishadan Port. Is there ever a matchup where like the Winter Orbs come out for you?
I'd probably take them out against something like Elves.
Okay.
They just anything that can operate on like 1 or 2 lands is like without any hindrance to them.
Okay. Yeah, because
take it out against them.
And maybe there are situations where it's like maybe it's not your best card, but it's not your worst card either. So when you're bringing in sideboard cards, it's not like the first card to go. So that might be the situation too. But I guess I was impressed of how many situations that on paper I didn't think Winter Orb would be very good, and it was just very pivotal in the way that you played out the games.
Well, it's part of the full prison, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
If I have to tap 6 lands with a Helix every upkeep, that's
hard for you to get ahead.
Challenge.
Yep.
So, that Winter Orb plus Fear plus, a Port or a Helix.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's like full lock pretty much against any deck in the format at this point.
That's true.
How happy were you with the Black Vices over the course of the tournament? Was that something you sided out a lot, or were you pretty happy you had them?
I mean, they're pretty good. I mean, I would not cut them.
Okay.
I think in certain matchups they're worse. I mean, this matchup, like the ability for him to dump his hand is very easy.
Huge. Yep.
So, and I figure once I get the lock in, I don't need to worry about anything. So like there's no rush.
Yep.
Since there's no naturalizes or crap like that.
I guess even like Lester, is there a card that you think you would play? Like, I can't think of like the next best artifact really. Like maybe like Curse Scroll, but that's pretty awkward with a lot of your game plans in terms of Winter Orbs and stuff.
Yeah, the Black Vice is obviously great against control decks. But as a kill card, sometimes you're like you're just gonna win with whatever you have. It doesn't matter. Once you get the lock in place, you're like, I can just kill this random Metalworker or whatever I want. So that's one of the questions why.
Yeah, I mean it's really just too good against like control decks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or like combo decks that are going to sit there with a bunch of cards in hand and try to go off in one turn. Just putting those early threats on those decks can literally, it can win the game hand like by itself in those matchups.
Yep.
All right. Well, we'll talk a few things about Chris's deck. So, kind of like the talk of the tournament. When every time we looked at your list, we always talked about the absence of 1-drops. And at first, I guess I was pretty skeptical, but just watching the games play out, I kind of liked how the deck functioned. That there was just enough disruption, and the shadow creatures plus like a creature enchantment, whether it's Bad Moon or Sinister Strength, really provides like a pretty reasonable clock. And so I kind of do like the setup of the deck. Were you happy with the composition of your main deck? I think you talked about that you weren't exactly happy with Skeletal Scrying, I think. So is there a card you were looking to change if you were to update and play this deck again?
Yeah, I think the Skeletal Scryings would come out. Like I said in the last match, I'm not exactly sure what I would put in. Maybe more creatures, maybe just main deck Withered Wretch, I don't know. Just some hate. But I think the factories I would pull out and put in Wastelands for sure. At this point, they don't, they're not evasive. If I'm beating somebody down land still with my own factories, I'm probably going to lose anyways. So in that situation, so I think I would swap the Wastelands because those, the ports between the ports early on and then the Helixes later, there's nothing I could do in any of these games.
Mm-hmm.
And I think stopping the port where I had a factory out, it was a Wasteland target as well. So that was probably one of the weakest cards in the deck. And a lot of people, I think, build like black aggro, Suicide Black, what have you, with factory coming in as an extra, extra attacker. But I think in this could, and then, and the thought of, Wasteland dropping your already lean mana base. But I think if you can get 2 lands out with a Wasteland, you get your hippie out, you get your negator out, then you ditch your Wasteland for the port or whatever is coming at you. You can stop the factory and land still or other threats. So I think those are the big changes I would make. Obviously, this matchup, I knew I was going to get crushed unless I could somehow cast like a hippie with a Sinister Strength or something like that, which did happen.
Yep.
But there's just, that's the main weakness against this matchup, but it just, like you said, a lot of matchups, it just kind of wins. And I know there's a propensity to put like 1-drops in the black deck, whether it's Carnophage or Sarcomancy or some of those classical Suicide black aggro cards, but they're just not good enough. I mean, there's the 2-drops are better. I mean, the best I was showing the best one drop in the deck is Mesmeric Fiend, and that's what I mean by that is Ritual into Fiend, or that you don't want to run another 1-drop instead of a main deck Fiend, because typically if you can take their any of their game changing threats out, the little guys will get through typically. So anyhow, that's my my rundown.
We had a question when we were looking at the sideboard. We saw the sideboard Smothers in there, and we were wondering, was there, because the other black removal spells, maybe like Vendetta or Snuff Out or maybe like Diabolic Edict, were you happy with the Smothers, or would there be a different black removal spell that you would like to try out? Or what matchups did you find yourself bringing in the Smother, I guess?
The Smother, I really didn't face many, but the Smothers are there for not, to take out, the that matchup. But really, I barely use them. I don't think I went pretty much the whole tournament not having any removal in my deck, just hoping I would evade and clock faster. So yeah, I think they're still there for utility in that matchup, but I would leave at least a couple in there. But I really didn't have a chance to use them.
Okay. I think that's all, like, and the questions that we had. Is there stuff? Yeah, Lester, go ahead.
Is there anything from your sideboard that you'd add or you'd cut ultimately from the black deck?
I'm I might even do something crazy like run another Planar Void. I may add 2 more Wretches. Just the shutdown of against so many decks with the Planar Void. I think I ran into Full English Breakfast. I ran into just so much graveyard strategy out there, and I think that gives me the higher. I'd rather draw into 2 Planar Voids, than miss that in that matchup. So I may take out something like the Perish, which frankly, if I'm facing like the Rock or like Elves or something like that, and there's enough for Perish to get a 2 or 3 for 1, I'm probably dead anyway. So it's
Right.
I think I would definitely take that out. The Dystopia was in there for Humility and sort of that Landstill matchup, which I think was pretty good. But anyhow, not a huge amount of sideboard options in black. I could put Cursed Scroll in there, but I really wasn't worried about trying to find colorless or other forms of damage for sure. But I think that's probably the only changes I would make there.
Okay.
Fair enough.
John, I guess your list was pretty typical. I guess what I've seen from Mud is there. I mean, obviously you're pretty happy with how the deck's performance, but is there anything you would change going forward?
Not the main deck. I mean, the only real flexibility here is like Smokestacks, Helix, and Karn. Okay. And I think the current distribution is fine.
I mean, it seemed like Helix seemed like pretty pivotal in almost all your matches. I would say like that seems like a card I would not want to cut. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty comfortable with the main deck. Sideboard, I don't know. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the Bottle Gnomes, but I think they're a necessary inclusion. Okay. Crumbling Sanctuary costs a lot of mana,
you typically have a lot of mana though.
Yeah,
you didn't seem to have a problem with that.
Yeah, I mean, some matches getting to 5 can be a little tricky, especially with spheres. In these games, it really didn't come up at all. But I've definitely had games where getting to that number quickly is a challenge.
Are there? I mean, like, I can't think of other sideboard cards that like would fill a role. I mean, you're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel at the point. Are there like artifacts that weren't in your sideboard that were reasonable that you think you just didn't play that you might try?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I think this is, it's just kind of the issues with playing Mud.
Yeah.
Mono brown.
Yeah. There's only so many colorless cards that you can play. So.
Yeah. Were you playing Bottle Gnomes for the blocker? Or were you playing Bottle Gnomes mainly for the life gain against like red decks?
Oh, they're in there for red decks.
Okay.
They'll block, but and I mean they do they do both, right?
Yep.
They'll block the red deck 1/1s and 2/1s effectively, and eventually you may have to gain a life off of them.
Okay. Cool. Well, congratulations to both of you. Congratulations, John, on taking it all down. We have our spring fling champion. So, yeah, I haven't seen anything come up in the chat in terms of questions, and I think I got everything that I needed to ask. Is there anything else, Lester, that you wanted to question the players?
No, good match. Yeah, it was pretty exciting. I thought Black would take the first 2 and then Mud would take the last 3, but they worked out pretty good. Good matches.
Yep.
Yeah, it was cool to see like the full lockdown from the Mud player. So,
for sure.
And I was. It was cool to see Chris kind of just play it out. I like that. I like that attitude, I guess. So.
And that reaction at the end of the game, saying like that's the most unfun I've ever had. That's kind of what Mud is always looking to have, that reaction. I think, like that's kind of the exact feeling they want to have at the end of the game.
Yeah.
At least Stasis has some color to it,
Right.
Blue here, like this is just like watching like the brown.
Right.
No, great games, great games, John, and well played. That deck is solid. So I didn't see a chance of breaking that one for sure. Congrats.
Cool. Well, thanks. We'll let you guys go. We want to thanks again for playing and congratulations.
Good match.
Okay. Thanks. Bye. Take care.
All right, have a good one.
All right, Lester. We are wrapping things up for our Spring Fling finals. Is there anything? I don't know how much of the top 8 you were able to kind of follow along, because I know I was trying to get you in the booth and our scheduling just worked out. But
I watched the Ugnaught versus Red,
okay,
which was sad times for Red decks. I watched the zombie deck against the black deck. So I watched a little bit of it.
Yep. So I guess kind of takeaway, if we just look at it from a Mud's perspective, it was really interesting to watch some of the Mud games. There were, I think, a lot of the skill in Mud comes. I mean, mulliganing is a very, very important with the deck, but then the sequencing of it actually is pretty important. Like the order you play your spells and how you you have to plan ahead of like how you're going to do stuff. And I think John did a very good job of that. It's really interesting. There were a couple situations of we were kind of saying like, how's he going to do this? What is his game plan? And it was really cool to see it evolve. And so I did enjoy seeing the Mud deck in action. I mean, I can understand people maybe not like to play against it, but because it is kind of a hopeless feeling once you get in that certain situation. But it is, I mean, you do need a number of cards in play to kind of set up that lock. So you do have some stuff to fight against it, but
the lock is a little bit fragile as sideboard too. Like a lot of the typical sideboard cards do provide splash damage against it.
Mm-hmm.
So like overloads and crashes and stuff like that. I mean, all that's good against it naturalized. So the deck is, you need all of your cards, so discard makes it really hard on it. And then once you get going, like it is a little bit fragile. Like sometimes you can just blow up a key piece and then it falls apart. So Mud being able to win is a testament to the player as well. Sometimes being able to gather stuff together, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. And John's a pretty top tier player. I think anytime I've seen him, I've been impressed with his lines and his sequencing. So.
Yep. Yeah, so that was really cool. The black deck was a little bit different than what I would expect.
I like the innovation though. I guess I am I was very skeptical when I just looked at the list, and after seeing it in action, I think the way that the cards interact, I think they do play a good role, and they serve each other well. And so I think there is something to go forward with this type of Suicide Black, where it's maybe a little bit slower, but I mean, I kind of am agreeing that like the random 2/2s in Sarcomancy and Carnophage, after the first few turns, they really lose a lot of their value, and the shadow creatures I think really pull their weight in turns 3 through the rest of the game. And so I'm kind of digging this list, and it might be something that I'm looking to try out. So
I think for the black deck, I think you just want to find a creature that hits harder. Once you strip your hand out, you just want to find something that hits a little bit harder. Like it's leaning on the Gator to do that job, but obviously you gotta draw it. So that's the only thing, is that some of the games I saw, he had a little bit of a hard time closing.
Mm-hmm.
The Sinister Strength helped out a lot, but like maybe just 2 cards, maybe like Flesh Reaver or something like that, just to close the game faster.
Yeah, I think in his sphere that it's just there's only when you have so much evasion, then like any non-evasion creature is is just so much worse because they're likely to have like one blocker or something or one interaction or like, and so it either needs to be super powerful like a Phyrexian Negator or needs to be evasive like a Skittering Skirge or a Shadow Creature. So, but yeah, I do like the black less. After seeing it in action, I am much higher on it than I guess just looking at the initial 75. So it's very cool to see it. So,
and I really like the like he said, like the Mishra's Factory turning that into Wasteland makes a lot more sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I thought it was a good tournament overall from what I saw of it.
Yep. So I'm hoping to kind of do a write up and a summary and have some interesting data points. There are a couple deck lists from the tournament, but I will have all 119, I think, deck lists or 109 or whatever it was. All the players, I'll have it in a spreadsheet, and players can play around with the data. I have a bunch of sorting capabilities if people want to do analytics, and I'll do a little bit in my write up. But I'm hoping to have that out soon. But yeah, I really enjoyed the Spring Fling here, and I was glad that we had a pretty good showing, and it's cool to see. I do like the batch system where kind of it feels more closer to like a Swiss tournament, and it kind of feels like the decks that do well, like kind of not that they don't earn it in a typical setting, but like they had to go through an extra step of like in the second batch you're playing players that also have been doing really well. So
yep,
it's a good feeling when we are in this COVID world just to get that closer to like a typical tournament. But hopefully we'll be able to have some paper pre-modern tournaments in the near future. So
for sure,
looking forward to that.
For sure.
But yeah, I just want to thank everyone who's able to tune in the stream. Thanks to the followers and subscribers. Thank you, Lester, for jumping in the booth and providing some
thanks for including me.
Top tier commentary. So I know every time that you come in the booth, there's always some fans of yours of your style. So
well, me and Bob just need to cut you out, and we can just take over the show ourselves.
Maybe I just need to be behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I like the limelight too much, but maybe for the future, maybe it would be interesting to see you, Bob, and how off the rails you guys would go. So
you should just let us cover like some 04 matches, know, like non-top 8. Like
I do have some recordings if we're just talking about 04 matches that actually might be a possibility. So
let's do it.
All right. So
all right.
Thanks everyone for tuning in, and until next time, take care.
I have a good one. Bye.